Rishi Sunak and said strong friendship between the two nations will help create a better future for the coming generations. On the sidelines, he also met with the UK Foreign Secretary, a former Prime Minister himself, David Cameron, and also former UK PM, Tony Blair. Now let's set up story number one, ladies and gentlemen. Is there a plot to stymie and somewhere corner Bharat in the geopolitical discourse using this entire K2 factor and these goons and these elements? Are two or three of the Five Eyes conspiring to corner Bharat?
US side shared some inputs pertaining to nexus between organized criminals, gun runners, terrorists, other extremists. We take, of course, such inputs very seriously.
The government announced today that it was conducting an investigation, and that's good and appropriate, and we look forward to seeing the results.
India remains a strategic partner. And we're going to continue to work to improve and strengthen that strategic partnership.
We want to work together. Bharat is a strategic partner, but then is there an intention to say we want to also keep you in control or on a leash? Is this a concerted effort to try and corner Bharat and somewhere stymie its rise? That's a question that we'll ask, and there's a reason why. The United States has charged an Indian national with a conspiracy to murder terrorist Gurpatwant Singh Pannun. I call him a terrorist because Bharat has branded him and designated him a terrorist. He is a US citizen and has been designated a terrorist by our government. The US Attorney's Office said Akshat Gupta was arrested by Czech authorities in June and is awaiting extradition. On the other hand, Bharat has constituted a high-level inquiry committee to look into the aspect and probe this matter, and in a thorough probe to try and cover all the relevant aspects of this entire matter. Top intel sources revealing to News 18 that Bharat and American diplomats are in regular touch with each other and exchanging intelligence over a range of issues. Intel sources also revealing that we as a nation have been sharing evidence against Pannun with the US, and their response to the evidence should have been quicker, and nothing much has been forthcoming so far. Intel sources also questioning America's silence when Pannun threatens Bharatiya Sarkar and also its officials on a daily basis, even threatening travelers from resisting to travel on Air India. All of these messages are out there vandalizing and also rewarding and announcing rewards for those people who commit acts of vandalism, acts of secession against Bharat, and of course being involved in criminal activities. These aspects, how is it that it's escaped the attention of the US authorities? Now, this is where Bharat and the United States currently stand. The US has alleged that a government employee from our country, Akshat Gupta, he's an ex-government employee, and his role in a murder plot. But we have said that targeted killing is contrary to our government's policy and our policy as a nation. The US has also said that they raised the issue with the officials directly, their counterparts directly here within the MEA. And the MEA has responded saying that the US has shared inputs on organized criminals, gun runners and terrorists, and that there is a probe panel that's been constituted to look into the matter. US Senator Ben Cardin said that the alleged assassination plot underscores efforts to silence dissenters living abroad. The MEA, however, has clarified that a high-level inquiry committee has been formed to probe the charges. US White House official John Kirby has said that the Indian government should hold those responsible accountable. Bharat, however, has said that necessary action will be taken on the basis of high-level committee's findings. But the larger question is this entire K menace A, straining Bharat's foreign ties, B, is it being used, a carefully crafted storyline to try and stymie or somewhere hold Bharat, corner Bharat to on the geopolitical scenario? so that the rise of our nation is within the control of some of those who are part of the Five Eyes. Now, in the United States, we've seen protests outside the Indian consulate in San Francisco. In fact, the consulate was vandalized. The officials were openly threatened. The US has alleged Indian officials' role in Pannun's murder plot, but however, providing SFJ, in fact, Pannu, a designated terrorist by Bharat, who the US believes is a strategic partner with whom they want to forge better relationship, they are providing that person cover. The allegation is that even the FBI is actually giving Pannu cover. Canada has alleged that Bharat's involvement in Khalistani separatist and terrorist, and somebody who had a red corner notice against him, Hardeep Singh Nijjar's death. But there's so far no action that's been taken on Khalistanis threatening Indian diplomats in Canada. Several wanted terrorists are also sheltered in Canada. Nothing's happened. Australia too has been seeing a series of protests at the Indian consulate and the Khalistan graffiti at the Hindu temples that became a common affair earlier this year in January. All of that is on the wane now. In the UK too, Khalistani supporters staged protests outside the Indian High Commission, and there were threats that were issued, not just anti-India slogans being raised, but there was a certain intent behind even threatening Indians and Sikhs who stood with India and stood with Bharat, and threatening them and trying to even put the pictures of their family members and vilify them on social media. And all of this are criminal acts as per the UK law, and that also has been given action to, or that's happened. But is there some counter action in the UK? So far, Indian authorities are saying there is. Now, in the past, anti-India protests by key elements were also witnessed in New Zealand. However, no recent protests have been witnessed in New Zealand. Now, this entire charade, is this a larger plot to corner us as a nation? And of course, somewhere hold control some of the Five Eyes nation, who on the one hand say Bharat is our friend, and on the other hand, they want to hold Bharat on a leash. Let's try and understand this in depth.
Hello, Moto.
Sushant Sareen, Senior Fellow ORF with us, and Ambassador Rajiv Dogra also with us. Namaste and Jai Hind, gentlemen. Thank you very, very much. Ambassador Rajiv Dogra, is this part of foreign policy? On the one hand, they say India is a strategic partner. We want to work together and forge stronger relationship. And on the other hand, they want to plant stories where they say, oh, look at this. India is orchestrating hit jobs on foreign soil.
Well, USA is certainly coming up with a new definition and behavior of strategic partnership. This is not how strategic partners behave. I think Kissinger, who passed away recently, defined US in international affairs the best when he said it is dangerous to be America's enemy, but it is fatal to be America's friend. So we were hoping that the recent friendship with USA through Quad and others would lead us to greater bridges, to more friendship and to more cooperative action. But this seems like a lynch mob that America has unleashed through its media, through its frequent interviews, where it says India is a strategic partner, but at the same time damns India. The lowest criminal in the world is not treated in the way that America is hounding India. For example, America itself has a record of about 1 million deaths all over the world. America has done the most heinous crimes in Latin America, in Afghanistan, and sent not just guns to kill people, but also missiles, intercontinental missiles, overflying Pakistan into Afghanistan. America has also not pursued to the last mile the Khashoggi case. Saudi Arabia has been let off the hook. China has police stations in Western countries. No one accuses China of any wrongdoing or violating their law. America, England, Israel have taken out people across many countries. But America will not tolerate any criticism or any questioning of its actions. The second thing is, why at this particular time America is so keen to take up the Pannun case when it has a known terrorist, a terrorist who has threatened to bomb aircrafts, Indian aircrafts, and has taken no action about Pannun. Another thought that comes to me is that when it comes to America's own actions, what about Headley? It knew Headley was going to do whatever he did on 26/11. Why did it not arrest him at that point? Why did it encourage him to carry on with his activities in Mumbai? 15 or 16 years have passed since 2008. America has not extradited Headley or Rana to India so far. If it is so keen on law and order and respecting the rule of law, then it should show some evidence that it acts on it first before asking other countries to do it.
But how would you read? What is the intent behind all of this? Is there an intent saying that America continues to want to have its hegemonistic hold? Is it because it's backing Canada? Because it was one of the Five Eyes that actually provided that so-called intelligence that Justin Trudeau made it known to the world on the floor of the Canadian Parliament. What is all of this? Or is America worried कि हम ही हैं जो घुस के मार सकते हैं? How can India do it?
Well, it's a combination of various things. I mean, this is a typical way of pressurizing another country in order to get something in return or something in exchange. America is using the pressure tactics to tell India that it should follow whatever lead it gives. That's plain and simple, because otherwise it would have waited for the investigation committee set up by India to come to some kind of a result. It is not as if, Pannu is under the threat of life. After all, he's got all the FBI protection. So either FBI is totally incompetent or America thinks that is just an eyewash.
So let's extend the friendship, Sushant Sareen. Let us try and identify those members who've been designated terrorists by America and give them intelligence protection or CBI protection on Indian soil. Let us orchestrate the destruction or the secession of various states of America and do it under the freedom of protest and freedom of expression.
Anand, I don't think we need to go down that road. I don't think that's what we do. And the Americans are very competently undermining their own democracy and destroying their own country with the kind of universities they have, the kind of professors they have, the kind of media they have. These rags called New York Times and Washington Post and all those vokes they have in these places, who basically follow what I would, or what actually it's Arun Shoury's quote, what is called the swallow and vomit journalism of the sorts we've seen today. There are two coolies who have filed a report in New York Times today as well. One of them is an Afghan living in India, and imagine he's talking about human rights and stuff like that. Anyways, forget about these guys. The bottom line is that, look, there are two things which are at play right now. One is, as Ambassador Dogra is saying, that this is one of those pressure tactics that Western countries very often use, and they hope that the other side will buckle under. I think what is happening right now from the Indian side is also an element of gamesmanship, that okay, fine, you want an inquiry commission, we'll hold an inquiry commission, but then we'll hold an inquiry into this nexus between all kinds of people, right? Which is okay. Let's see where that leads us. Secondly, I think it's very clear now, and in fact there are a couple of reports which seem to suggest it as well, that these Khalistanis are basically intelligence assets of countries like the United States, of Canada, of course. The political establishment is totally involved with these guys. They are hand in glove. They probably get funding from them also. In any case, they depend upon these Khalistanis for electoral support. So Canada is a different case. Canada is like Pakistan, right, in this matter. But the UK, for example, just yesterday, a former colleague of yours has published a report saying that the British are very cut up because the Indian intelligence was trying to infiltrate British intelligence Khalistan operations. Why would British intelligence have Khalistan operations? What kind of strategic friendship or partnership or whatever else you want to call it would be doing something like this. There's another report which had been published many weeks earlier in the Hindustan Times, which said that the Indians have told the Americans that we think that Pannu is a CIA asset. So they are also protecting their own assets. Right. Why do you think, Anand? It's a very simple question. I am a Punjabi. I think Ambassador Dogra also is a Punjabi. We understand the language. This rant of this madman Pannu, on where he threatens an Indian airline and says on the 19th of November, no Sikh should travel in this airline because your life might be in danger. What more evidence do you need that he's threatening to blow up an aircraft? And he's doing it publicly. Now, if the Americans are so dumb, so stupid, because that's what their education system has made them, then there's nothing we can do about it. Okay? Most senators and congressmen are probably in that category. But otherwise, they would have understood what the hell is being said. And they would have, if supposing Anand, you or I or Ambassador Dogra was to issue a similar threat against an American airline, do you think we'll ever be allowed to fly? Do you think the Americans will not want to crack down on us and say that, look, let us examine what are these guys up to? And here is a guy who gets off completely scot-free.
That what applies to them doesn't apply to others, and that seems to be the case. Forget airline. You talk about an American pharmaceutical company, and then all hell breaks loose. We've got news coming through. We've got news coming through at this point. Top intel sources revealing to CNN News 18 that after Nijjar's murder fallout, Government of India has assured all help to Canadian counterparts by NSA and other officials. After that, it was decided to send a team of senior intelligence bureau officials to Canada to see what all Canadians have against Bharat on Nijjar. But after continuous requests from all ends, the Canadians have refused media, even visas to the teams that we are sending. The government has said that they should actually allow the teams to come and show all that they have, but despite multiple requests coming in from the Bharatiya Sarkar, they have not accepted the request at all. Now, Ambassador Rajiv Dogra, please tell me, so many months after that, they have not even filed a charge sheet. The investigation is still on. The Canadian cops are still investigating the matter. We are saying, allow us to come and show us what you've got so that we can help you. They're saying, no, we will not give you visa.
Well, the simple thing here, and to extend the argument, the line of argument taken by Sushant further, is that Canadians are not interested in completing this investigation, as their own newspapers have reported. In fact, one of them has said that at the highest level, the investigation was vitiated, because the moment Trudeau finds that there is some conclusion to the Royal Mounted Police's investigation, then his Khalistani supporters would withdraw their support. So it's a question of political survival for Trudeau. So we are dealing with double standards. One is the face that they are showing to the world that we are the victims, because we were supporting all these terrorists, we were pampering them, we were letting them indulge in terror acts in Punjab and even in Canada. Now India comes along and says that why are you doing this? Isn't that unfair? That's the line of argument that Canada is taking. As far as America is concerned, all of us, in fact, let me go a step further and make a rather extreme statement that if you were to take a poll, you had exit polls and so on, today and yesterday. If you were to take a poll amongst Indians, right down from Punjab to Tamil Nadu, they would say that we should hunt terrorists wherever they are, be it in America, be it in Pakistan, or be it in Canada. As Sushant said, Canada is the new Pakistan. So if our interests are affected, then we have a right to bring those people to justice, as repeatedly American presidents have said.
Are you saying, Ambassador Saab, that this is a common sentiment on ground? And would you agree with this sentiment that earlier people would ask if other nations can send their teams to execute those who are acting against their interests, why is not Bharat doing it? And then are we really walking the talk on this ghus ke marenge claim by the Prime Minister? Are you saying that there is a sentiment on ground which says go ahead and do it? At least you're doing something.
all I'm saying is, firstly, I'm quoting the sentiment of the people of India. Secondly, all I'm saying is that if you have one standard, apply it across the board to Americas as well as to Israelis. Israeli ambassador here, Israeli spokesman in Israel have said that we will kill these terrorists in Qatar. The head of Hamas in Qatar. Why is America not making a squeak? After all, what is the proof that any Indian was involved in planning assassination of Pannun or anyone else? Because in this age of deep fakes, who knows? America had concocted that video, all the evidence that it is giving to
Sir, a
media.
nation that can concoct weapons of mass destruction in Iraq can concoct anything. But Sushant Sareen, how would you want to see it? How should Bharat handle this? Or are we going about it in the right way? Where we are saying, we'll investigate everything. This is something that you are telling, acha, aisa hua hai, let me probe this. And then we play along while we say it's business as usual.
No, I think what we will do is that we will investigate at our own level. And what we will investigate is what the Foreign Office has said, what the MEA has said. That we will examine this nexus between, I think what they've left unsaid is more important, that this nexus will extend to foreign intelligence agencies and their nexus with these criminals and these terrorists and maybe even foreign politicians and their nexus with these guys. I think we should come out with a report. Whether it's classified and can be shared or not is another matter. Secondly, I think, I don't see any reason why we should start panicking over just because the Americans are making a big song and dance about it. Let them say what they are saying. We should continue doing what we are doing. And yes, to the extent that there is some kind of evidence which they have, then let them prove it. We'll look at it in our own legal system. Why will we have to look at it in the American legal system?
Correct.
Number one. Number two. Number three, we should follow the same principle that the Americans followed in the case of David Coleman Headley and in the case of a whole lot of other people, including the Pakistanis who were sued for their involvement in the 26/11 attacks, and the Americans gave a free chit despite having known that the ISI officers were involved in the 26/11 attacks, planning and execution. The American system allowed the Pakistanis to get away scot-free, and that is what, in fact, somebody's informed me this today on Twitter, and that is what, and his information comes from the director of intelligence in the United States. Okay, I think the former CIA director or somebody. So they knew what the Pakistanis were up to, but because they had their own strategic reasons, they decided that they'll soft pedal the Pakistanis. The same thing which they did even with 9/11 attacks, because the 9/11 report, 9/11 Commission report had stuff on how members of the Saudi embassy were in contact with 9/11 hijackers and terrorists, and yet that part of the report was completely hidden. The Saudis were allowed, the entire Bin Laden family was allowed to fly away. So, when the Americans give us this spiel about rule of law and how
there are suggestions which say that why did America jump to try and officiate, mediate, etc. when the Manipur issue flared up?
Yeah.
So should we scour the northeastern parts of our country and see whether or not there are and thereabouts around those areas if there are American assets there?
If you allow me
so let's pay it back to them in equal coin. That's another sentiment that's coming across. Two sentiments. One is that if other nations can avenge, why shouldn't we, and bring people to account on foreign soil or otherwise? However, let us just do it. And if that means it's adding to the stature of Bharat, go ahead. The second thing is, if there are foreign assets on our soil and we are aware of it, let's expose them and call their bluff all this while. We've looked the other way, let's not look the other way anymore. Sushantji, Rajiv Dograji, I have to move on. Limited time here on the broadcast, so we'll continue this conversation post the 3rd of December, sir, because come Saturday and Sunday, the focus is going to be on the 5 state polls. But for the moment, taking your leave, thank you very, very much. Thank you. Meanwhile, the other aspect, ladies and gentlemen, big development. As the focus is on the results of the 5 state polls, there are some other aspects. So let's just bring this to light. A massive debate has erupted after the National Medical Commission rebranded itself with a colored image of Dhanvantri. And this is at the center of the logo. That's where we see Dhanvantri and the word Bharat replacing India. The change has sparked massive debate within the medical fraternity itself. While some have welcomed the move, saying medicine is going back to its roots, others have said it will hamper the secular structure. So, a black and white image to a color image will hamper the secular structure. Calling calling ourselves Bharat will hamper the secular structure. Meanwhile, Communist Party of India, Marxist leader Thomas Isaac has called the establishment of bigots. That's what he's called it. That's on his tweet. Bigots of the first order. That's what he's called the establishment for effecting this change, because in his tweet, he said that the logo of Ashoka has been replaced. The Ashoka pillar, the 3 lions, that's what has been replaced with Dhanvantri, and he said they are bigots of the first order. The National Medical Commission has, however, defended the move and said that there is nothing to sensationalize, as nothing has been significantly changed. India, that is Bharat, so we've put Bharat there. And it's a black and white to color. The image of Dhanvantri was already part of the logo. So, Mr. Isaac, perhaps you were misinformed. On the other hand, NMC went on to clarify that all members unanimously decided that color should be added to the image. Let us make it look better. The commission clarified that Dhanvantri logo, which existed in the form of black and white line diagram, was changed to color as it was not printable. NMC said that Dhanvantri is the god of health and healing in Bharat. NMC even clarified that the name Bharat was adopted by the country, hence it is replaced with India. What is all this fight about? Let's dive into it. Ratan Sharda, author and someone who leans towards the RSS, with us. George Kurian, political analyst, and Acharya Vikramaditya, founder of the Vivekananda Nature Cure Hospital. Establishment of bigots of the first order. Ratan Sharda ji, strong words coming from Mr. Thomas Isaac, who now we realize was thoroughly misinformed. The 3 lions were never there part of the logo.
I am trying to scamper for my Trishul, so I look like a bigot. I'm actually not. See, it shows the total colonialized mindset which is not ready to get free. It is trivialization which has been raised to the level of controversy of people who just would cry for anything. Medical Council of India established in 1933, and which was the image on that particular logo? It was Asclepius. I am not a Greek. I am not a padha likha aadmi like Sanjay Jha. So I will tell you the spelling: Asclepius, which is Asclepius. This god was there since 1933. Okay, it was British. Here is the image. Yeah. It was a British government. So I can understand they preferred a Greek god to a Hindu, Ayurvedic or a doctor. So they put Asclepius. But for 2020, nobody thought about it. That we had a medical council which was carrying a Greek god's image that was secular. That was not even Indian. Nobody knew who the person was. So it was replaced later on. And the talk of this Ashok was actually, as the council was formed, they had no logo. I have talked to topmost people, and they said they had an open talk. They sent out messages asking for some interesting logo designs, and so many ideas came. Finally, new logos accepted. Okay, Dhanvantri is already there. After 3 years of communist wakes up, a bigot of the first order living in North Korea perhaps, and who says it's a bigotry. The well-known Indian god of cure, of medical, is bigot, but a Greek god is secular. I don't understand. India becomes Bharat as per constitution. They have a problem. I don't understand. So this is very strange, created controversy, because every morning they think, "Aaj kya shor machana hai?" So some toolkit tells them, "Boss, ye naya story aaya hai." So this story, when Dhanvantri comes from black and white to color, suddenly everything erupts. Why can't the medical council look a little better? Why can't look a little colorful? I do not know. So this is just a lot of hot gas, and people will understand the stupidity of the people who raise this issue. And when they look at the entire story, they will themselves be so foolish that we in India waste so much of time, precious time, on these kind of trivial things. And people who raise the issue, whether Kerala or TMC, they should understand what are the real issues of India, not these kind of things. Which we have roots. We have medical science which is much older than anybody else. Ayurveda treatise which is 5,000 years old, but we can't have Dhanvantri. We'll have some other person. We'll have oath in the name of some Greek god, but we have our own oath of medical science, which is I just read 3 days back. We can't read it. And it clearly says, I think Charak or somebody, that your confidentiality of the patient should be kept. It should not be shared. It should not be shared with anybody. Imagine so many thousands back we had that culture, but we want to still look at West. That is a colonial mindset. I can't say any more than this.
George Kurian.
Anand, a very good evening to you, to my co-panelists on the show, and to your audience. Anand, I would request 90 seconds of uninterrupted time to put forward my views.
Sir,
here.
Please take 120.
Firstly,
Go ahead.
Please understand that the National Medical Commission is an apex regulatory body and a non-political by nature. And the change of a logo of NMC is unnecessary and unacceptable, as it defeats the very idea of scientific and evidence-based modern medicine in India and to the modern medical fraternity at large. The logo sends a very wrong message, and it will harm the scientific and secular nature of the commission by itself. Many doctors and association heads and medical professionals have taken it to social media to express their disagreement to the very idea of changing the logo. It's very easy to say it from black and white to color, but the Hindutva ideology is they're trying to implement and put it forcefully to the larger audience here, and the body is non-approachable and hardly responds to RTIs and things like that. And there is also, we need to understand the very primary function of the NMC is to lay down policies and maintaining high-level quality standards of medical education, and to also look into the regulating of medical institutions, medical research centers and medical professionals, and also the human resource part of it, and as far as health is concerned and healthcare, and the infrastructure is concerned. So these are the primary things that the association should look into, and we all understand the Ayushman Bharat has failed miserably. So this is nothing but diversionary tactics from the Bharatiya Janata Party to rename things and bring it in a new order.
Sir, but they have not renamed it. It's still the National Medical Commission. It's just that they have reworked the logo so that it can be printed easily. Dhanvantri was still there. It's just that it's in color now. He is in color now. And he is seen the forefather of medicine, Indian medicine. So where is the problem? The problem, you should have actually called out those who have misinformed, deliberately tried to misinform. There is no Ashoka logo, they said Ashoka logo. How is it bigoted that I change from black and white to color so it becomes an establishment of bigots? You should have called out, sir, that there should be better issues to focus on. Like you said, there should be better issues that should be raised. Mr. George Kurian.
Well, I mentioned about the Ayushman Bharat Health and Wellness Center, which has been renamed to, the Ayushman Bharat Mandir and all that thing. So I strongly believe that, the renaming...
No, they have not. It's called the Arogya Mandir, sir. It's not called Ayushman Bharat Mandir. Arogya Mandir is just it's a Bharatiya way of calling a medical center. That's all they have done. And majority of the people in our country, at least north of the Vindhyas, understand Arogya Mandir better than medical center. That's the understanding. You can have saying that, okay, why are you changing the name? You can say that. But here it is about Dhanvantri. Do you have a problem with Dhanvantri being representing Bharatiya medicine?
In that case, the government should have, when it launched the scheme, it should have made it clear Arogya Mandir in the first place itself. Why call it Ayushman Bharat Health and Wellness Center when Indians are living in rural areas, they don't understand English. So
that's a fair question to answer. Fair question to ask. Ratan Shardaji raised his hand, and then Acharya Vikramaditya, I'll come to you, sir. Thank you for your patience. Yes, Ratan Shardaji.
This total antipathy to anything which is ancient, which belongs to Bharat, is so clear from the word of George Kurian. He says Ayurveda is unscientific. Basically, he assumes that Ayurveda is unscientific. While the world is moving towards Ayurveda, towards inner health rather than the outer health, it is talking of palliative health rather than preventive health rather than palliative health care. When people believe that being healthy is much better than being sick and then being cured, because all the allopathy has been curing the sick, it is not about not falling sick, which is what Ayurveda does. Ayurveda looks inside for all the cure, but that for them is not scientific. Why world is copying Ayurveda, making herbal medicines, pirating our own granthas, but for them this is bigotry. By saying Arogyam Paramam Dhanam, which means health is greatest wealth, there is a problem with people like Kurian and all other seculars who believe it is bigotry. So Sanskrit, the oldest, most scientific language preferred by even computer languages now, for them is totally outdated, totally bigotry, totally Hindu. The language Hindu, science becomes Hindu for them. this is the mindset.
No, so let us ask Dr. Let us ask Vikramaditya ji. He's a doctor, he's an acharya, he runs a natural care center as a hospital, Vikramaditya Hospital. So Ayurveda is bum comes here. Dhanvantri is a problem, it's an establishment of bigots as far as Mr. Thomas Isaac. How would you want to respond to all the critics?
नरसिम्हा जी, अभी भी क्या है, कुछ लोग कॉलोनियल सेट ऑफ माइंडसेट से अभी भी रह रहे हैं. उनको आपके नाम से भी दिक्कत हो सकती है. आपके नाम में नरसिम्हन ऐड है, उससे भी उनको दिक्कत हो सकती है. बहुत सारी लोग इस प्रकार के हैं. अभी भी वो चाहते हैं कि हिंदुस्तान, अगर इनसे जॉर्ज साहब से पूछा जाए कि हिंदुस्तान के क्या जो हमारे प्राकृतिक जो योग एवं आयुर्वेद इत्यादि के पतंजलि इत्यादि जो ऋषि हुए, क्या उन्होंने कोई रिसर्च करी, तो अभी बोल देंगे कोई रिसर्च नहीं है. अभी बोल देंगे चरक संहिता इत्यादि की जो किताबें हैं, ना तो इन्होंने पढ़ने का प्रयास किया और ना कभी इसके बारे में कोई अध्ययन करने का प्रयास किया. आज भी क्वालिटी सेट ऑफ माइंड जो इनके दिमाग में है, उसमें कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में लिखा है भारत और इंडिया से भी इनको दिक्कत है. आज तक इंडिया यूज होता रहा, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में लिखा है इंडिया दैट इज भारत, वहां पे इक्वल है ना. तो जब आज इंडिया बिल्कुल यूज होता रहा, किसी को कोई दिक्कत नहीं थी. आज जब सेम वर्ड यूज भारत हो गया तब दिक्कत क्यों हुई? 70 साल तक कोई दिक्कत नहीं हुई. चलो 70 साल तक बारी बारी खेल लेते ना, बारी बारी आपका एक इंडिया वर्ड यूज होता रहा, कोई दिक्कत नहीं थी. जब इंडिया इज इक्वल टू भारत, तो आप मुझे बताइए भारत में क्या दिक्कत होगी यूज होने में? ये सारा का सारा कॉलोनियल सेट ऑफ माइंड है, जिनको इंडियनाइजेशन, आज भी हमको इंडिया वर्ड से जिसको कहा सपेरों की दुनिया वाला खेल खेलने के लिए बात करते हैं, वो हमें अभी भी अनकल्चर्ड मानते हैं और उससे निकलने को तैयार नहीं है. इंडिया की जो रिच कल्चर है उसको आगे लाने में इनको दिक्कत हो जाती है. पूरे विश्व ने इन भारत से सीखा. आयुर्वेद पूरे विश्व में इस वक्त एक्सेप्ट किया जा रहा है. अमेरिका में सबसे ज्यादा हर्बल प्रोडक्ट बिकते हैं साहब. जो फूड सप्लीमेंट्स के अंदर सबसे ज्यादा इंडियन, भारत के आयुर्वेद की आप दुकान कहीं भी बोल दीजिए, किसी भी कुछ दिन पहले अमेरिका का गया, वहां पर आमतौर पे जो हर्बल प्रोडक्ट्स हैं इंडिया के आयुर्वेद के नाम से कितने ज्यादा लोग ले रहे हैं. लेकिन अभी भी यहाँ पर कुछ लोग जो है वो कॉलोनियल सेट ऑफ माइंड.
मैं आपको इंटरप्ट कर रहा हूं क्योंकि बहुत बड़ी खबर आ रही है चुनाव को लेकर. December 3rd विल नॉट बी द काउंटिंग डे फॉर द स्टेट ऑफ मिजोरम. देयर इज अ चेंज ऑफ डेट ऑफ रिजल्ट. क्विकली गोइंग अक्रॉस टू दैट, have to abruptly cut short the debate because this is the announcement that's been made by the Election Commission of India. 3rd of December is a Sunday, and in Mizoram there has been representation to delay the result because it's a festive day, an important day where they have said, and that's why the Election Commission has said that counting for the state of Mizoram will happen on the 4th of December. So that's the reason why it's been shifted out of a Sunday, special significance for the people of Mizoram, and that's why it will now be, counting will be now done on Monday the 4th of December. We're going to take a very, very short break, ladies and gentlemen. When we come back, we are in conversation with the author of the Hidden Hindu trilogy that sold more than 5 lakh copies. Now scriptwriter, poet, and of course, a person who's very popular on social media for his frank, forthright statements and comments, Akshat Gupta, on the right stand. Stay with us.
Hello, Moto.
Co-powered by.
Then let's not say women voters are voting separately.
Exactly.
No, either they are voting as part of their caste or they are rising above the caste and looking at the factor on ground. If
more and more women want to enter the
okay, we got a
workforce.
number on CNX number we've got.
More women are wanting to enter the workforce. If they have to,
GVL is there as a quasi-cephalogist.
Yeah,
exactly. Quasi-cephalogist. Now no longer into cephalogy, but we will ask GVL on this aspect also, that is this entire caste census thing, is it now a bogey? And should it be looked at only from a male prism? That's another question. But let's look at the CNX number. What is CNX giving as the numbers? Let's go closely. And they are saying CNX 100 is the par number, and CNX is saying that Congress should get 104 seats in Rajasthan. This is the CNX Rajasthan number. And BJP will fall short. 80 to 90 seats for the BJP is what CNX is saying. So these are the latest Rajasthan numbers, and that's why we see the Congress poll number on the edge of your screens bumped up to 80 and the BJP slipping down to 107 from 109. Let's look at the next one. We got one more number coming in on Rajasthan, and this is the Matriz number. The Matrice number says Congress is at 75 and the BJP comfortably way past the 100 number, and it will actually sweep this election in Rajasthan, get up to 130 seats. So if they move past the 100 number, the BJP sweeps the election. That's the call, and that's where some of the analysts and the BJP supporters are saying hum 130 par. We heard the LOP of Rajasthan, Mr. Rathore, also say we will be 130. So let's go across to GVL Narasimha Rao and ask him to weigh in on two aspects. GVL, two aspects. One is this entire caste king. Is it a bogey? If you look at the exit pollsters and the way they have voted, it's against the incumbent. That's what it looks like. Or is for the incumbent. Where is there a caste factor there? Secondly, will you look at it from a male-female prism? Does caste not apply to women at all? And the third part, right now, the outliers are saying this way or the other, but so far you seem to be going and getting a clear mandate in Madhya Pradesh and in Rajasthan. What does that imply for Lok Sabha 2024? Three questions.
Yeah, Anand, you see, certainly the caste voting in any given state is more pronounced among men compared to women. Women tend to vote more on performance, more on governance, and less so among men. I think this will be a big gap. If 30%, if 60% men vote caste, the number would be significantly less in the case of women. It's not to say that women don't consider caste as a phenomenon, but the intensity is much lower. Number one. Number two, caste is a factor not in these states alone. Caste is a factor in every state. Be it Tamil Nadu, be it Karnataka, be it Kerala. Kerala is a state which is highly literate, but caste is a factor there also. But caste results in long-term political preferences for political parties. So if you see one particular caste is more inclined towards LDF, another is more inclined towards UDF, and that does not change drastically from election to election.
Right.
The vote swings are very limited. Whereas in some states, they will vote based on the caste of a candidate. I will put Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh somewhere in the middle.
Okay.
They are not heavily voting on the basis of caste, and certainly performance, governance are important factors in these states.
Right. Right.
And as regards impact on the Lok Sabha elections.
Yeah, well, I'll come to that. Just hold your thought, sir. I've got Arun Sahu of BJP MP from Chhattisgarh is also right now at this with us. Arun ji, namaste. Chhattisgarh में बाघेल जी वापस आ रहे हैं, लग रहा है कांग्रेस आ रही है वापस. बीजेपी को थोड़ा गेन मिला है, लेकिन बीजेपी पीछे है.
बिल्कुल नहीं. छत्तीसगढ़ के गांव गली गली में नारा गुंजा है और नहीं सहिबो बदल के रहिबो. छत्तीसगढ़ में भाजपा आवा थे, ये नारा पूरे छत्तीसगढ़ में गुंजा है. और देखिएगा जब 3 दिसंबर को मतगणना होगी तो आप पाएंगे कि छत्तीसगढ़ में कमल खिल रहा है. भारतीय जनता पार्टी की सरकार बनने वाली है.
तो आपके हिसाब से
आत्मविश्वास
आपके हिसाब से 45 का हाफवे मार्क है, तो भाजपा उसको पार कर पाएगी? कितनी सीटें आप भाजपा को दे रहे हैं? आपका आकलन क्या है?
निश्चित रूप से पूर्ण बहुमत भारतीय जनता पार्टी को मिलेगा, क्योंकि हमने नरेंद्र मोदी की गारंटी जनता के सामने प्रस्तुत किया है. हमारे केंद्रीय नेताओं के लगातार प्रवास हुए हैं. वहीं दूसरी ओर राज्य की कांग्रेस सरकार ने हर वर्ग को ठगने का काम किया, धोखा देने का काम किया. एक भी वादा 2018 में जनता से जो वायदे
ये सब तो आप चुनाव में जाकर जनता को कह रहे हैं. अरुण जी, मैं आपको टोक रहा हूं क्योंकि किसी भी एग्जिट पोलस्टर ने छत्तीसगढ़ में बीजेपी को बहुमत नहीं दिया है. सारे आंकड़े हमारे सामने हैं, किसी ने भी नहीं दिया है. तो आप कैसे कह रहे हैं?
कल तक आप लोग ये कहा करते थे कि मुकाबले में नहीं है. छत्तीसगढ़ में भारतीय जनता पार्टी बहुत दूर है कांग्रेस से. लेकिन आज जब एग्जिट पोल आया है, आपने नजदीक की फाइट दिखाई है, तो ये बताता है कि कहीं ना कहीं भारतीय जनता पार्टी फाइट में है. लेकिन ये सैंपल साइज बहुत कम संख्या का होता है. मैं आपसे दावे के साथ कह सकता हूं कि अपने कार्यकर्ताओं के मेहनत के दम पर जनता का जो रिस्पांस हमें मिला है, पिछले 1.5 सालों में हमने जनता के हर मुद्दे को सड़क से लेकर सदन तक लड़ाई लड़ी है, और जनता का आशीर्वाद भारतीय जनता पार्टी को मिला है.
47 सीटें
क्योंकि राज्य की कांग्रेस सरकार ने ऐसा निश्चित रूप से 3 दिसंबर को देखिएगा छत्तीसगढ़ में कमल खिलेगा और भारतीय जनता पार्टी की सरकार बनेगी।
3 दिसंबर को मैं आपको आमंत्रित। Namaste, Jai Hind, and welcome to yet another very, very special edition of a conversation with those who are pushing literary work that wants to somewhere bring back and make Bharatiya Itihas, Bharatiya characters very, very cool. It's his first literary effort, ladies and gentlemen, but now I'm given to understand it sold more than 5 lakh copies, 3 lakh in English and 2 lakh or plus in languages including Hindi, and it's a trilogy, ladies and gentlemen. It's called The Hidden Hindu, and I personally am a fan of Akshat Gupta's work, and I must say that the reason being that it's unputdownable, and as Anand Nilakanthan has written here, it's unputdownable. You want to read and then you want to read the next one, you want to read the and go back and revisit it. So Akshat Gupta, good to speak with you and thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Your first work, many times they say कि authors का career बना देता है. That's how it is, writers का. But this, I'm given to understand, also saved your life.
Yes, it did save my life. It was my getaway from my depression. And it was the only getaway out of my depression. And a lot of people are surprised that I've never ever written anything before this. I used to write things as hobby, but never in my wildest dreams I thought that I will pursue it as my full-time career. And as I said, it was a getaway from my depression. Is that there was a time in 2014 till around 2016, 2.5 years, while the only 3 things that I was doing is I was eating, I was crying, and I was sleeping, because I thought that I'm not left with anything to do in my life, which is when this idea, this concept, this thought came in my mind, and I started writing for my son because I was waiting for him. And it took me 6 years, and I was waiting, and I was writing, and I was waiting, and I was writing, and here it is.
So this whole process took you 6 years,
yes.
and you went right up to the brink.
I did.
And then this book brought you back,
Yes.
or did life start looking up for you? It's a phenomenal story in itself that you start writing the book and life starts turning a new page or a new chapter. Is that true with you?
Absolutely right. I mean, I come from the family of hoteliers. I am the 3rd generation of my family into hospitality. Rather, I should say I was. Because now I address myself as a full-time house husband, part-time author, screenwriter, poet and lyricist. And this
Urmila Putra
Akshat Gupta. So yeah, you're absolutely right. I was at the brink of ending my own life, and from there I've come back.
How did this idea come to you? And generally people would not use this kind of a title. This is very in your face, isn't it? It sold 5 lakh copies, so that itself says a lot. But there must have been a lot of people who looked at you and said, why do you want to call it Hidden Hindu? Yes. Title badal do, naam badal do. Then rather than using immortals, you've used Chiranjeevi. Yeah. You've given characters who have a lot of roots in our itihasa. But then you've given them a very, very different fictional point of view, making them really cool. How did this all happen, and what is the resistance that you felt? You met with? Did you meet with resistance?
A lot of resistance, not only in the publishing industry, but also in the production houses. See, we need to understand that always the agenda by these producers is not to subside our itihasa, but also to not touch it in a wrong way. So the problem is that most of these producers, they know nothing about us. They were busy earning money. And so when you don't know something, you don't want to play with it. Which is when I started narrating this story to the producers and some of the directors also, I came across this thing, as you said, why do you have to keep this name? I mean, why don't you say the Hidden Immortals? Write anything. Just
use the word Hindu. Huh?
Just don't use the word Hindu. Was number 1, and number 2 is while you're talking about these 7 immortals, it's okay, talk about 7 immortals, but make them all fiction. Talk about Hanuman, but don't say Hanuman. Talk about Parshurama, but don't say Parshurama. You give a middle-aged man, an axe, and you give him all the same powers, but don't call him Parshuram.
Because they don't know how society would react to it, how people, readers would react to it.
Yes. So this has been a real challenge, but thankfully I kept on doing it, and finally came Dhoni Entertainment, who...
So Mahi met you?
I have met him. I have met him, but it's his team. It's a production house, and these people, which is owned by Mrs. Sakshi Dhoni. So they first contacted me and finalized this story. Our frequencies just matched in terms of what they were wanting to make and what I was trying to pitch. And it just
But
worked.
by then, had your book come out already? Had your book released?
No,
Had publishers decided to take your work, take it seriously,
No,
and say, give it some literary credence?
No, it happened after. So for a very short span of time, this news became a national news that Dhoni Entertainment has bought the visual rights of a debut author. And the name of the book is The Hidden Hindu, which is when some publishers approached me, and finally we decided to go with the Penguin Publishers for the English translation of it. Not the translation is Hindi. For the English book it is with Penguin Publication, for the Hindi it is with Prabhat Publications. So yeah, it was the other way around, that the visual rights were gone first and then came the publishing rights.
So did you write the Hindi one first, or did you write it in English first?
No, I wrote it in English first.
English,
yeah, because what the thing is that, as I told you, I was writing it for my son. We need to understand that our young generation, we need to teach and tell them things in the way that they enjoy listening. Why do we feel sleepy in the class? Because we only feel sleepy in the class when we are not entertained. So because I was writing it for my son, and he was a big fan of Marvel and DC films, I decided to give it that look. And I decided to, usually most of these authors, they try to take the readers back to those times. I decided to bring those characters in today's time. So because you have read it, you know that there's a part of COVID also happening, and everything is happening between 2020 to 2022 end. So that was the idea. I just, going a little away from what we're discussing, I strongly believe that we have the best of superheroes. It's just that we have not yet started exploring it, and the others are using it. Like if you have seen this film called Black Panther, the first part, when he has to claim his throne, then comes another contender who stands in front of him and he says, "Glory to Hanuman," and then he starts fighting in the film. And they live in a place called Wakanda, which is camouflaged and you don't see it. It is actually taken from this place called Gyanganj, which is written in our Purans that it is a hidden city. Not even camouflaged, it's a hidden city, and the city is above Kailash Parvat.
That reference to Shangri-La.
The reference to Shangri-La.
Yes.
So they have been picking our stories and giving it back to us, and we are clapping.
Did somebody insist on calling it immortals? You mentioned it.
Yeah.
But you said, no, I'll call them Chiranjeevi.
Yes.
Why would somebody have an issue whether you call it Chiranjeevi, immortal? How does it matter?
No, the idea was that don't call it the hidden Hindu, call it the hidden immortals. The problem was not calling it immortals or Chiranjeevi. Call it whatever you wish to. Just don't use the word Hindu.
Hindu.
Yeah.
But what was the reason, and why were you insistent that no, I want to call it Hindu only?
Because I was sure that it is a eye-catchy thing, and why not? I mean, the only thing that I think out of all the religions I know at its best is, and I'm a proud Hindu. I've written this poem that has been loved with by so many people, which says कि रुद्राक्ष की माला में भी मैं हूँ, कृपान कटार और भाला में भी मैं हूँ, श्वेत भी हूँ और शुद्ध भी मैं हूँ, विरुद्ध हो मेरे तो युद्ध भी मैं हूँ, इतिहास में बहा आंसू और खून भी मैं हूँ, अब जो कह के मिलेगा वो सुकून भी मैं हूँ, कि इस धरती का मैं केंद्र बिंदु हूँ, प्रणाम मैं हिंदू हूँ, चिता की अग्नि गंगा का पानी कब्र की मिट्टी लोबान भी मैं हूँ, पीर फकीर अली वली सियावर राम का हनुमान भी मैं हूँ, भोला हूँ सरल भी तुम्हारा मित्र भी मैं हूँ, घोल भी दूं तुमको और घुल भी जाओ तुम में कुछ ऐसा चरित्र भी मैं हूँ, इस धरती का मैं केंद्र बिंदु हूँ, प्रणाम मैं हिंदू हूँ। प्रणाम का भाव भी मैं हूँ, आक्रमण का घाव भी मैं हूँ, सहनशील स्थिर और शांत भी मैं हूँ, देवभूमि भारत का हर प्रांत भी मैं हूँ, शक्ति भक्ति और ना थकती क्रांति भी मैं हूँ, तूफान हूँ और तूफान से पहले की शांति भी मैं हूँ, इस धरती का मैं केंद्र बिंदु हूँ, प्रणाम मैं हिंदू। Why are we so apologetic saying that we are Hindus? I think we are the only clan whom you see on road and you cannot judge that you are a Hindu, most of them. You see a Christian, you see a Muslim, you see a Sikh and you will just know who they are. We are the only clans who don't want to show who they are. पानी की आइडेंटिटी पानी की सिर्फ तब तक होती है जब पानी सिर्फ पानी होता है, उसके बाद पानी की कोई आइडेंटिटी नहीं रहती. सो आई डोंट नो सिंस व्हेन एंड व्हाई हैव वी स्टार्टेड टेकिंग इट एज अ कॉम्प्लीमेंट ऑन अस कि हम घुल भी जाते हैं सब.
यू आर करंटली also writing for movies. You're also penning, stories. You're writing another book. We'll talk about your book in a bit. But these 9 films, is there a change in the attitude of those very filmmakers who first rejected this idea to what you want to write? Or are you compromising what you stand for a certain level of commercial success?
So, not all the films or not all the stories that I'm working on is related to our culture or dharma
or civilization.
They are entertaining films also, which is not in particular serving any purpose. It is a film for the audiences to come and entertain. I strongly believe that books are what gives you fame and films are what gives you money.
Okay.
But not at the cost of diluting your beliefs. So there's nothing that I am doing unethical or that I don't totally believe in.
On a personal note, let me ask you, how are you dealing with all the fame from a time when you were shunned as the black sheep, जिसने पूरे परिवार पे ही नहीं शहर पे कलंक लगा दिया, he's a failure, to now those very people saying, अरे ये तो अपना बच्चा है, I know him very well, people walking to you and saying, please sign this for me. So how are you dealing with this?
So it once happened that while me and my wife, we were planning to get married, nobody wanted her to get married to me. I was socially, mentally, physically broke. So someone from her family said कि गिरती दीवार से सबको बचना चाहिए, क्या कर रही हो तुम? ये गिरती दीवार है, इसके नीचे दब के ढह जाओगी. She still chose to get married to me. And recently I met that individual and I said कि आपकी favorite line है ना ये, तो उसी गिरती दीवार को थोड़ा सा सहारा मिल जाए ना, तो उस पे छत डाल के घर बनाया जा सकता है. और आप ही की परिवार की जिन्होंने मुझे चुना above everything, she is the live example of my statement that you can do it if you get a little support at the right time. So when
what's next after after Devdhaj?
After Devdhaj. So when I say that I was a full-time house husband, it holds equal truth also. There had been times when nobody was wanting to work with me because I was new in the city.
Correct.
And I was just paving my ways there. At that time I have prepared a lot of stories. So I strongly believe that we have been denoted with a wrong word called writers. You can put writer with the word type, but typewriter cannot think. It can't do things by itself. So I often believe and say that writing is a skill, whereas thinking is an art.
Okay.
So anybody can teach anybody how to write a language, how to frame a sentence. Nobody can teach nobody how to think. So I've thought a lot of stories. It's only the skill part is left.
Since you've gone to the brink and come back, my final question, that another misstep could result in you losing all this fame and all this credibility. One of your own peers, maybe a senior, went through this when that entire adventure or misadventure with Adipurush happened. And all that was built around suddenly came crumbling down. Does that worry you?
Adipurush was a mistake. There's no second thoughts to it. But
good evening, welcome to Brass Tacks. I'm Zaka Jacob. The exit poll numbers are in. The broad trends are very clear. The two big Hindi heartland states, Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan, seem to be giving a slight edge to the BJP. The Congress managing to hold on to Chhattisgarh. I think 9 out of 10 polls that I've seen say that the Congress will come back in Chhattisgarh. But the big uptick for the Congress happens to be in Telangana, where it is hoping to dislodge the BRS. But mind you, these are just exit polls. These are not the actual results. The actual results will come on Sunday.